Hello to all of our listeners out there in podcast land, and welcome to episode 54 of Canadian Patriot Podcast, recorded on November 28th, 2016. Joining me this evening, we have Marty, the only panelist whose economic plans have been reviewed by 4 leading economists at Canadian universities. Hey, Marty, how you doing?
Doing all right.
We also have Gavin. Gavin's a business owner, gun enthusiast, hunter, atheist, and the host of the Greater Toronto Area chapter of the Tactical Beard Owners Club. Hey, Gavin, how you doing?
Pretty good. Yourself?
I'm all right, thanks. As always, I'm your host, Andrew, and today we remember Osama bin Laden, whose work cleared the way for the new Freedom Tower in Manhattan. Hashtag Trudeau eulogy.
Congratulations, Andrew. You made it through that entire intro without fucking something up.
Yeah, so, the trick is the right amount of alcohol, not too much, not too little. It's like the Goldilocks of intros.
And I mean, you even had to improv by skipping over Tyler.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't do good when it's not on the teleprompter.
Oh, yeah. That and if Andrew's Trudeau eulogy has triggered you, we'd love to hear your feedback about the show. So please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us at feedback@CanadianPodcast.com. That, and if you use the iTunes, you can leave a 5-star review there, and in your comments, put down something you'd like me to drink for an episode. The edited version of the show is available on Stitcher and iTunes.
All right. And if you have the social medias, then you haven't pissed off a liberal today and received the warm embrace of a social justice warrior banhammer. So until you corrected that, you can check out the podcast on Instagram at instagram.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast. Remember to use the hashtag bayonets out for Harambe, or visit facebook.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast and give us a like. We'll let you know when new episodes air and when we're live on YouTube, usually Monday nights at 9.
That's my favorite. I'm so glad we made you the director of social media. Awesome. All right. What are we drinking? Gavin, we're going to start with you.
I am drinking Krabbies this evening.
Oh, now I want ginger beer.
And tonight I'm with Goose Island Honkers Ale.
Nice. I've got rum and Coke because I'm classy.
What kind of rum?
Lamb's spiced rum.
Nice. Excellent choice.
It tastes like vanilla Coke. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
You have vanilla Coke?
No, it's not vanilla Coke. It's Lamb's spiced rum, so when you mix it with Coke, it tastes like vanilla Coke.
Oh, okay. I'm like, I didn't know that was even something that still existed.
Yeah, it's not, but with the right liquor, it is.
You know, some places amazing. You can still find vanilla Coke, especially if you go to one of those places that has the like fountain thing, where it's like the 5,000 different flavors or whatever.
Our local The Works Burger has cherry and vanilla Coke on I guess draft.
Yeah, that's the place I had.
The draft system.
I grabbed lunch from has that. It's awesome. So you can get cherry vanilla Coke. Or they've even got lime Coke on there.
Lime Coke, that's...
Yeah, I was never a big fan of it, but I guess for those that are, it's there.
Right on. Let's go into the news. We're going to start with an article from the CBC. They don't have to echo this week. Financial literacy to be incorporated into Ontario curriculum. So I'm pretty happy about this because I don't know how somebody in government managed to pull this off, but teaching students about personal finance and how money works is actually probably a really good use of the public education system.
Yeah, I'm really torn with this one because I very much agree with your sentiment that teaching kids about how finances work is a positive thing. But I'm very skeptical about liberals teaching finances.
Well, okay, so is it going to...
I think I'll kind of withhold judgment until I see what this curriculum is.
Yeah, I mean, until we see the curriculum, we can't pass judgment. But based on what they're talking about doing, the theory of it, I think, is it's a good application of the government school.
Yeah, spend your way to success, and your budget will balance itself.
Yeah, tax everyone into prosperity. Works every time. I mean, the only thing I've been like Marty said, is I would be wary of that. And what are they cutting to teach it? Like if they're cutting something else valuable just to teach this, and then they teach it incorrectly, that's gonna just piss me off. But like, if they're cutting out,
like where is that?
They're putting it into the careers program or the careers curriculum, which, as I recall, careers is half of one semester and civics is the other half of one semester. And I don't think that there was anything that was in.
Yeah, I don't
know, grade 9 or 10.
Yeah,
it was after they abolished OSAP. Not OSAP. Grade 13. What did they call it?
OAC.
Thank you.
Okay.
Under the new curriculum where you had to get so many of the various credit structures, so you had to get 4 Englishes and 3 maths and 2 sciences and a phys ed and a music and so on and so forth. One of the mandatory credits that they put in, I guess this would be in the early 2000s, the very end of the 90s maybe. One of the classes in the 9th or 10th grade is half a semester on civics and half on careers. There was nothing of value in either of those courses.
Yeah, so I didn't have I was old curriculum, but I guess they probably do how to write a resume and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was how to write a really terrible resume, and the 3 branches of government with no explanation of how they work or integrate or what they do or anything of value. But there was a lot of project work. It seemed to me to be a class that they gave to one of those teachers that was kind of light on the liberal arts stuff.
Mm.
So we had a French teacher teach ours because they had no other applicable life skills.
Yeah, no, I didn't have any of those classes because I graduated OAC in 2000. So yeah, that was definitely not part of my curriculum.
Yeah, no, this is a new stream thing. So depending on how they integrate it, replacing some career stuff, I think is possibly a good investment of their time, because the careers course, I mean, really, does it need to be a half a semester to tell somebody how to write a resume and how to find a job?
Given the shitty resumes I've seen over the last year, probably. But
yeah, I mean, I guess I'm spoiled because, I learned all of this stuff before I had to take a course on it in school, since I already had jobs. But
yeah, well,
I mean, that's probably just my white privilege showing.
Oh, totally.
I would say this from the job that I have now. When I'm looking at people's resumes, any resume I see is professionally done. I've never had any issues with sort of the content or sort of model of any resumes I've seen recently. Back when I was in high school and I was hiring kind of other high school kids, I mean, you would see people that had a half-page photo of themselves just looking cool on their resume and stuff like that. So I can definitely see how.
Did Trudeau send you his resume or something?
It could have been at the time. Who knows?
I mean, to this day, the worst resume I've ever seen, which I got maybe about 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago, was basically 1 page. It wasn't even a full page. It was 3/4 of a page. And at the top, it just said Tom, and then his cell phone number. No last name, no other information about himself, just Tom and a phone number. And then not actual jobs that he's had, but descriptions of jobs that he's had. And he had about 8 or so of them. No dates or anything, but just automotive upholsterer, warehouse picker, and that was it. That was the resume. So that one immediately went into the garbage.
So there's some benefit to teaching kids how to write a resume.
Yeah,
I suppose.
Or you could just open up Word or whatever the program is on a Mac and just open up the template which comes with the software and just fill it in. But
well, hopefully we can revisit this when we see what the curriculum actually is.
But yeah, it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah. Like I said, I agree with the sentiment entirely.
Let's talk about putting the Muslims in a ghetto, because I think that's really how the National Post ought to be pitching this story, rather than a developer building a Muslim housing project in Montreal.
Yeah.
No, too fashy? Nobody wants to touch that?
Honestly, who gives a shit? Like personally, what's the difference between this and specifically strictly a low income housing, or this and a retirement housing development, or any of the other like sort of segregated housing developments that we have that only people of a certain economics or gender or whatever live in?
Yeah, but it's one thing when you do it based on economics, which may have some systemic racism.
There's the issue of low-income housing in that there's the government-subsidized housing where the government puts up a block of apartments and pays for people to essentially live in them, which is definitely a problem, especially in metropolitan areas like Toronto. I don't see the relationship between Muslim-only housing projects and, say, nursing homes, because nursing homes don't pick who lives there based on their philosophical ideology. They pick on who. Sorry, go ahead, Marty.
There's a difference between like a retirement community and old age home. Like retirement community is just like no kids.
Yeah, I mean, we have near me, there's a bunch of retirement communities and, old age homes, and it runs the gamut because there's a ton of elderly people in Mississauga. And there's even one that is like exclusively Chinese, which, I'm fine with because those people are choosing to go there if they want to go there, much like Chinatown, like Greektown, like Cabbagetown, and all these other ethnic neighborhoods. I'm fine with those. Like, if white people want to congregate on their own free will, awesome, do so. Stay in your little area, do whatever you want to do in your area. That's fine, and that's awesome, and that's one of the cool things about some of the bigger cities is you get these little ethnic neighborhoods. But when the government builds something that they're going to send people of any specific group.
All right, so maybe
I have a problem with it.
Hang on a second. Maybe I completely mistook this then. Is this a government building project that is forcing Muslims to live here?
It is a private housing development that's looking for government backing. They want public funding to build a housing development.
Okay, so the public funding, I agree with you. If I thought this was a private.
Private industry wants to build
private initiative.
No,
go ahead.
And I'm like, if he wants to limit the number of, I was gonna say, like, if this is completely private and the guy wants to, basically he wants to limit the number of his potential customers on the basis that he thinks he can sort of make that up by offering a perceived value to a specific subset of the population, fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if it's government funding it, that's different.
And that's the problem that I have with this is a housing development, a housing developer going to a municipal government saying, we want to build 80 homes on a 100-hectare piece of property, but we're not going to make it a gated community. It's not a land lease. It's not like a condo complex. It's not analogous with a retirement community where you're doing a land lease or you're paying a lease to be there, or you're part of we don't have homeowners association, but it's a similar type terminology in Canada for a private land ownership where everybody that lives in there is essentially in a gated community. They all agree to live by that community's rules. That's not what this is. This is a public community in that it's being funded and run by the municipality, but they want to vet who lives in it. The developer wants to vet who lives in it.
No. That's nonsense.
So where is it that it says that they're asking for the government funding?
I will have to find the article. It might have been in the CBC, or it might. Maybe it was National.
I didn't read all. I'd read this about this earlier, and I didn't see anything about the government.
Yeah, if they want government.
And again, there's lots of condos that have a board that has to approve people that go in and they vet and things like that. So
sure.
And again, as long as it's private, I'm against it. I don't really. I'm not a big fan of it, but there's nothing I can say about this. This is completely valid to me.
If they want to build an apartment for whatever ethnicity, religious group, sexual orientation, or whatever, with private money, and get to choose who lives there, that's their own problem for limiting their market. and no one is forcing any of us to go there. And if we don't want to go there, they won't get our money, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. But if they get $1, of public money, like tax money, and I don't care what group they're building it for.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like if they're building a, Italians only community, I would say, no, that's garbage. Like if you want taxpayer money, anyone and everyone should be able to live there, so long as that they can afford it.
No, and I'm in agreement with that. If you want to make it a private community and they have some sort of a condo board type thing where you have rules and you agree to those, that's private property owners. But
so
if they want to do this...
I've scanned kind of all 3 of these articles. I don't see anything in here about government funding.
Oh, maybe I didn't put the right article in the link. I will have to find that. Maybe I'll take this out.
We might have to touch on this next week, or circle back on it. And
yeah, we can always circle back. I mean, I think we more or less made the point that, like, if it's private owners doing it, go ahead, make it for whatever you want. I don't care what group it is. You get any help from the government whatsoever, then that's absolute nonsense. I mean, regardless of who the group is.
I'm going to use this as my edit point. I'm going to put in the part 1 interview with Sheldon Johnston here, and then we can go into the CPC leadership race. So how about the CPC leadership race?
Well, that was like 2 hours of my life I'm not going to get back.
Yeah, it was. The CPAC was a little bit long and boring, as CPAC tends to be.
Yeah, I think that, I don't know. With 12 candidates, I think it was, and only 40 seconds to answer a question, it was kind of hard to give anybody a real chance to answer something.
Yeah, there was multiple people that their answer was, go check my website out.
Yeah, which to be, that kind of irritated me.
Yeah.
Like
you hit your root point. We don't need to get your entire... I don't need to see your entire economic breakdown. What's your biggest impact? What's your biggest differentiator?
Yeah.
So the way I think... Let's tackle the answers that they gave to the individual questions, and we'll go on a similar format. Let's allocate 2 minutes to a question, and then we'll go on because there are 11 questions plus the bonus round.
Yeah. We'll just kind of pick out if there's any highlights or not from each question.
Yeah.
So start off just the intros and just seeing everybody for the first time. Was there anything that kind of stood out to you guys, or?
I have questions about the branding presentation of some of the candidates. Why was Deepak wearing a scarf?
Yeah.
Why was Blaney wearing the world's biggest poppy?
The big poppy? Okay. So
that was made for him by grade school students.
No, I understand that. But every other candidate was wearing the traditional Legion poppy, and Blaney was wearing this paper thing made by school students, which he did explain during one of his questions.
Late in the debate.
But I just
at the 2-hour mark in the debate, he said it.
But why was he... It was just very odd. And Kelly Litch breaking with traditional conservative styling and wearing a bright red jacket.
Yeah, it was... so the big poppy, I definitely noted, because I was like, what's going on with that? I'm like, that dude's totally getting sued by the Legion. Because the Legion is so protective of their poppy. I'm like, he's going to get sued.
At least it wasn't one of those stupid white poppies.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, so at least he did explain it later on that it was a child's school that made them.
Yeah. All right. What did you guys think with the intro? Was there anything else? I mean, the fashion branding choice is kind of...
The fashion branding. I mean, Dan Lindsay, hippie needs a haircut and a shave. We don't need a premiere with the man bun.
Yes, I agree. I don't care for his hairstyle either.
Yeah.
What was another one? Michael Chong claiming that Fergus is GTA.
Yeah, what was up with that?
Fergus is kind of near the...
No, he's like, I live in a farm in Fergus in the GTA.
No, Fergus is not the GTA.
No, right. You don't live in a farm in the GTA.
I would maybe give Milton like GTA-ish status. Like if you're on the border, like, because I mean I'm in Mississauga, I would say that's the GTA, because like it's suburb all the way up. If you go just the other side, like you can be in Milton or like parts of Oakville that are pretty rural.
Milton is classed as being part of the GTA, though, and I mean where he lives.
Fergus is not.
Fergus is, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It's very close, but he's not in the GTA.
No, he's not far from it. Like he's only like an hour and a bit away from Toronto. So I mean, he can go there for dinner and be back home on his farm like easily. But
and I also liked the French translator for Aaron O'Toole when he slipped into like a sentence of French and completely obviously caught the French translator by guard, like Rebecca. It was like,
well, yeah,
he missed his entire sentence.
Well, the one guy whose microphone for the first couple of things that kept screwing up.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the Trash's mic kept screwing up on him.
Yeah.
They got it.
And I liked that. I like Blaney came out of the gates in his intro. Pretty was his intro. No, it was in his first. Actually, I'll skip it. His first question.
Okay, well, let's do the first question. The first question was Justin Trudeau has not even created one new. Coke makes you burp.
Justin Trudeau has not even created one new additional full-time job in Canada in over a year of governing. What do you think is the most important piece of your economic plan that will create jobs?
I don't know. Did anybody have a great answer for this? You said Blaney was hot out the gates.
Yeah, it's going to abolish the Indian Act. Was what he came out with.
That's a strong stance to take.
That caught me off guard. I was not expecting that to be the right out of the gates.
First, yeah.
I mean, mostly pretty well everybody was like, cut taxes, cap government funding, and he was like, yes, and abolish the Indian Act.
Yeah. All right, question 2, the latest fiscal update from the Liberal government.
Oh, and Chong's answer was, of course, he had the approved tax plan from four of Canada's university economists.
Did he really start that with question 1?
I think so. He used that for every fucking question, man.
I don't know if it was... He used it a lot. I mean, I think he used it 3 times. And somebody else threw it right back at him and actually quoted which universities it was. I think... Was that Blaney?
Yeah, Blaney was like, that means nothing. Like, universities are full of liberals. They approve every financial plan.
Yeah, but Blaney rattled off his universities. He's like UBC, Guelph, Windsor, and something else.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny. So question 2, the latest fiscal update from the Liberal government paints a pretty grim picture for the finances of this country. Government spending is on the rise, and there's no plan to return it to a balanced budget. Keeping that in mind, what is your single biggest plan to bring the budget back on balance, just as it was when the Conservatives left government? I think the majority answer was cut taxes.
Cut taxes. Yeah. Well, to rebalance the budget, most of their answers I thought were kind of cap government spending. Cap or cut government spending.
Yeah, I mean, that's a typical conservative answer, though. I mean...
Yeah. Trost came out with privatize the CBC, which I like that. Bernier was privatize Canada Post, privatize our airports.
Yeah, Bernier was privatize everything for that question, which I'm totally behind. The government
remove capital gains as well. He threw in there.
Nice.
I thought he came out strong on that one.
Yeah, but if we're going to privatize things, we need to actually make them private companies, not like private government-controlled companies that monopolize the market and don't allow for free trade.
So you're saying it shouldn't be like Hydro One. It should be like Hydro whatever's going to open a hydro company.
Yeah, and you can actually pick who you want to buy it from.
Yeah, I'm totally on board with that.
Yeah.
Chong had a good answer here too, actually. Where
was it that he was the child of immigrants?
That could have been part of his answer, but
He seemed to use that for a lot of his answers.
But his wife, though, is like 8 generations Canadian or something, though, isn't it? Like
That's true. His children are 1/4 Hong Kong, 1/4 Dutch, and a bunch of other things like Irish, English, and Scottish.
Yeah.
Makes me think he doesn't know exactly what his wife's heritage is.
It's all the same. It's all from that small little island, right?
But
they all look the same to him.
He kind of went into a little bit more depth of like how he's going to attack government reduction, like basically following the same model that Harper used of going through program by program and eliminating any unnecessaries. Instead of just saying we're going to cut budget spending, he kind of gave a bit more details, which was actually pretty good in an answer. It sounded a lot better than everybody else just going, we're going to cut spending.
Yeah. Hey, Gavin, you read the third one. We done one.
Then, all right, question 3. Here in Saskatchewan, the current interprovincial trade barriers between provinces are not only impacting local business negatively, but also creating a negative effect on provincial economies across Canada. What do you think is the one thing the federal government can do to make the free flowing of goods across the provincial borders less restrictive, especially in Saskatchewan?
Yeah, nobody blew me out of the water with the answer to this question.
Blaney pissed me off royally on this one.
Yeah, what did he say?
He wanted worldwide free trade.
Yes, this was the one where he wanted free trade. Okay. Yeah. Screw that guy.
Yeah, that was, I was like, oh, you fucker.
I liked the answers from Chris Alexander, Maxime Bernier, and Andrew Scheer.
Scheer was just like...
I get those two...
Scheer, no.
What 3 of them all had basically the same answer, and it was basically stop regulating trade between the different provinces.
The provinces. Yeah, that was Scheer as well. Bernier's was like, we should have an economic union across the provinces, and basically constitutionality, saying that Constitution says that there's free trade and free movement of labor and goods is defined in the Constitution. So any law violating that from any province is I don't know what's the term, but unconstitutional and should be removed. So he came out really good on that one as well.
Yeah, I liked Bernier's position on a couple of questions because they all kept coming back to the constitutionality of the question. But the federal government should just enforce whatever the Constitution is.
Yeah,
that's actually a really good job for the federal government. That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, he seems fairly libertarian in his views.
Yeah. Which we'll get to probably a little bit later, but I say almost to a fault.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because I think that's going to be his undoing.
All right. Do you want to do question 4, Marty? We'll just keep going in that order.
Yeah. Question 4. Just last week, the Liberal government announced that it's maintaining 2016's number for immigration at 300,000. The Liberals' Economic Growth Council has recommended raising immigration levels to 450,000 over the next 5 years, but the immigration minister rejected that target. What do you believe is the right approach to immigration in Canada? What numbers are appropriate to build our economy and to do our part on the international stage?
Okay, so Michael Chong definitely answered this one with his family is immigrants, but I did really like the technical side of the answer with you can't target this with numbers. You need to actually look at the facts. And you need to make sure that there are good outcomes for the people that are immigrating. And we should change the immigration policy to not just be X number of refugees to look good on a world stage.
Which, by the way, I think I missed a question.
Oh, really?
Here's a question. So let's circle back on it.
What's that?
In the show notes?
Yeah.
I'm missing the TPP.
Oh, not the TPP question.
Really? The TPP would have been here, yeah.
Well, that's all right. We'll circle back.
Okay, we'll do that one after we do their immigration questions.
Yeah, I would say most people were pretty much the same on this one.
No, I disagree.
Yeah, there was a lot of agreement amongst the people that skills-based is more important than need-based, and some of them even offered like certain percentages that they believe that certain percentage should be skill-based. instead of need-based immigrants.
Was it Deepak that was like, we had 37,000 Hungarian refugees, and within 60 years, all of them but like a handful were off of the welfare system?
I forget who said that.
Yes,
I think it was Deepak.
him.
I would really like to hear about some of the details of how they made that work and how they can apply it to refugees that they're importing to today, because the Hungarian refugee crisis, well, smaller than the Middle Eastern refugee crisis, I think would make a very good template for today.
Yeah.
I think that's actually for the next question. But
oh, is that the next one?
I mean, basically, it's a very similar question.
Yeah, I mean,
but
like,
in terms of the, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, Leitch, I guess, sort of expanded a little bit onto what her Canadian values was in this. Not really, but a little bit. But she definitely sort of drove home the point that she wants face-to-face interviews for everybody coming into the country.
Which we should be doing, and I don't disagree with. But Leitch's presentation in her answers is very wanting.
She speaks in haikus. She puts these weird pauses in between. Like, she makes these, statements with, like, a little pause in between. It's exactly like you were, like, reading a haiku. It's like a poem that doesn't rhyme.
Yeah, well, I guess she's trying to make sound bites, right, that are easy. Yes,
and that's what it is. She entirely, like, it's just sound bites that she speaks in.
She
did. So on this one, she was commenting about the only 1 in 10 right now are receiving face-to-face interviews. As opposed to, like, Chong made the comment that, like, with Harper over the last 10 years, they brought in 3 million immigrants with 100% screening.
Yeah, which I think we should go back to. I think Chong is my pick for the best answer on this question, despite his whole, my dad's from Hong Kong and my mom's from...
Yeah, I mean, they all kind of had their thing. I mean, like I said, like, you know, Deepak keeps going on and on about, well, in my travels abroad, like, for every answer, that's what he started it with, it seemed. And then,
to be fair,
Leitch seems to be...
He has been doing that for the government.
For sure. But, like...
Service has been traveling around and being...
Canada is
awesome, guys. Buy our stuff.
Yeah, I mean, but I got it, like, after the third time. Then, like, the way that, like, I don't know, Leitch seemed to just keep pandering towards, like, Trump supporters. The way she would kind of throw his name out for every question where it's relevant, rather than just saying, like, the U.S. or, you know, the president of the U.S. It was always throwing in Trump's name.
Yeah. Well,
I thought Blaney did good on this one, too, just in saying that, like, I don't give a shit about the number. Numbers are for liberals. It's like,
yes.
What I care about is how many people are skilled, are educated, are going to offer value to the country. That's how many we bring in.
Yeah.
Yeah, Blaney did a pretty good job on this one. All right.
Well, yeah, and I think, you know, the biggest thing was, it needs to be need-based, not want-based, you know, like...
Yeah, exactly.
I guess we should do the TPP one because it didn't make the show notes.
Sorry about that. Let's jump to the TPP.
So they asked, it was a 2-part question. Do you support the Trans-Pacific Partnership, yes or no? And some level of detail about the Trans-Pacific Partnership.
No, not quite. Yes or no? And if yes, how would you persuade President Trump?
That was the detail.
That was the second part.
So I think, was there anybody that outright said no? Because I think they all said yes when I watched it.
Every single one said yes. Except for Wright and Leitch just said nothing in their answers. Like, just said nothing even close to the question.
Yeah, Leitch's answer to the Trans-Pacific Partnership made no freaking sense, although she does want to work with Trump.
She does.
I didn't get anything else out of her haiku except that she wants to sit down with Trump.
Yeah, and that she will be a force to be reckoned with.
I don't think that was the TPP issue that she was a force.
No, but just in general, that she will be respected by him, and because she made that very evident in a bunch of her answers.
In general, I just yelled at the TV while I was watching this part because I'm like, none of you have read the 6,000-page document that's the Trans-Pacific Partnership. You're all screwing us on this.
Yeah, I mean, I disagree with the sentiment, but O'Brien had an interest. O'Brien was one of the only ones that answered the second half of the question in terms of, like, how would you convince Trump to do this? And he went, fuck Trump. I'm going to go right to Congress. They're the one that needs to sign it.
Yeah, which was I think that speaks to his understanding of how to work on the international stage, which he's probably gotten from traveling a lot.
Yeah, I thought it was a good. I mean, it was a good answer, and just in that, like, not that I necessarily wanted to sign the TPP, but it was a good answer in saying, like, yeah, this is how you do it.
Yeah, I like that. That's good. I think we're on Gavin's question on number 6.
Well, I guess, do you want to do number 5, which would be the follow-up to the immigration one?
Yeah, let's do that one first.
So what would you do for those immigrating to Canada to settle into their newfound lives and country?
Yeah, nobody made an amazing statement about this. Deepak was like, I have daughters that are Canadian. And Chong was like, my dad's from Hong Kong and my mom's Dutch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought there's a couple like Scheer and Blaney that just said they shouldn't need help because they should already have the skills they need before we let them in into our country.
Yeah.
So like if we select people that are like qualified and can do things when they come here, then they don't need. Yeah.
Was Scheer the one that said in his answer that he was the one that wanted to engage with the municipalities to make sure that the places where these people were going were set up to accommodate them?
I don't have that in my notes. I don't know.
Somebody was talking about that. I think it was Scheer, and I liked that approach that they wanted to, make sure wherever these people ended up settling, that the community they were going to, the municipality they were going to, was going to be able to, embrace them. That they weren't just going to be a burden on whatever that community was.
This is where, so Alexander, this is where he came out and said that he wanted to have at least a 70% plus target of economic immigrants. Which I thought was neat to see somebody throw an actual number around. Yeah, and this is where Leitch said that we need to have a prime minister for Canada, not a prime minister for the UN, which I thought was a good attack on Trudeau.
It was. I didn't care for much of Leitch's answer because there really wasn't much substance to it, but that one comment was good, that this was more about Canadian.
The one soundbite. She just keeps throwing out sound bites until you like one.
Yeah, this one Canadian value is a good thing. But
we'll have to do a little separate comment about the Canadian values because I did make a note of those.
Okay.
I wrote them all down.
Nice. So I think that's me for number 6.
It's on you.
Yep.
The Trudeau government is threatening to force carbon tax grab on every region of the country. On the surface, it seems to be an additional stream of revenue for the government to take off the paychecks of hardworking Canadians. In Saskatchewan, Premier Brad Wall has been clear that his government does not believe that this is the right approach. It has many Canadians as well as local residents concerned about what this will end up costing. What would you do differently to lower greenhouse gas emissions?
I'll come out with first one for me was O'Brien's, and he went after recycling nuclear waste for fuel.
Yeah.
Which, right off the bat, I was like, yes, terrific.
Yeah.
O'Brien was the only one I think that actually had a real plan to present.
Yeah.
Everyone else was like, greenhouse emissions are bad. Canada, one of the scientist guys, was that one of the Andrews? Which one's is the scientist? Is it, or, no, the guy on the right, Trost, I think it is. Okay, Trost. Because he was all like, Canada only contributes 1.6 of greenhouse, or 1.6% of global greenhouse gas emissions. This isn't our problem. This is like bunk science, and we're not participating. I'm like, okay, I can get behind that. You don't believe in this. That works.
And he said, like, we'll stop. I'm going to stop spending money on greenhouse gases and start spending it on environmentalists. Like, we can clean up our waterways and we can clean off like our watersheds, and like there's all kinds of like actual beneficial, tangible things we could be doing to help our environment than going after carbon.
Yeah. Well, wasn't one of the people's answer, I can't remember who it was, but like, we're going to go give money to other countries to help them clean up their carbon emissions?
Yeah, I think that was Saxton.
It's like, no, like they can deal with their own shit. Like,
yeah, no, stop giving money away. Like, just stop giving money to other countries. We should not be doing that.
Once we've fixed everything, in our country, then we can give money away if we need to. But like, when there's still stuff to fix in our country, let's keep that money to fix our country.
So I like that
really.
in this one, like Chong, this is where Chong went kind of went full retard on this one, where he was like, the carbon tax in BC is working out terrifically, and we should be modeling. We should be modeling.
When he's talking about this,
and then I liked Bernier right afterwards was like just completely called out how much of a failure the BC carbon tax is.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. I wasn't particularly thrilled with a lot of the responses because, I mean, they were still going on that, oh, yeah, well, we'll cut the carbon tax, but, this is still a problem, so. And it's like, oh.
It's a touchy subject for them.
No,
I mean, I guess because they don't want to denounce it entirely because then they may lose some support for those people that are sort of like borderline liberal conservatives, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Was it O'Toole? One of the candidates was talking about how they need to not have a carbon tax here because manufacturing jobs were just going to go to the U.S. And I want to say it was O'Toole that was saying that.
O'Toole mentioned that it kills businesses. I forget exactly how specifically he said it, but
yeah, I'm okay.
No, it was
that.
Saxton. Saxton said specifically that it shifts businesses to U.S. and Mexico.
Okay, then it was was his comment.
Basically, like, if Canada has carbon tax and USA and Mexico doesn't, then it just moves the business there. It's an extra cost to production in Canada that they don't have.
All right, let's do the next one. Whose turn is it? I forgot.
Oh, that's your turn. No, who read the last one?
I read the last one.
Yeah, that's me. All right, balancing the economy and the environment, especially in a country like Canada with all of our natural resources, requires clear direction and leadership. It means getting infrastructure projects like pipelines built while ensuring that natural beauty of our environment is conserved and protected for future generations. How would you balance these needs?
By building a big, beautiful pipeline.
That was pretty much all of their answer.
That was a common answer, yeah.
Yeah,
except for Chong. Chong went with revenue neutral carbon tax.
Yeah, revenue neutral carbon tax is not the way to solve
he even said carbon tax.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Chong's position on the environment issues doesn't work for me. For the most part,
he started off strong. He's actually a good speaker. He looked fine up there. If he didn't have to answer any other questions after the intro, he would have done well. But he just fell apart as this moved on.
Yeah, his strength is definitely not in the environment or in the economy.
Mm-hmm.
But I think generally it's we're going to build a big, beautiful pipeline. And we named a bunch of pipelines because we all know what the three big pipelines are. It's Keystone XL and Morgan something and some third one.
Oh, yeah. And then Rate on this one was using Ontario Clean Energy as her example.
Yeah.
Oh,
not as an
Rate.
example of what to avoid. As she was holding it up as a success story.
Yeah, no, she was also the Minister of Natural Resources under Harper in 2008, though. So I give Rate very little credence for the entire debate because basically she's from the East Coast and she moved to somewhere to get a job and now she's in politics.
Yeah.
And everything else she said was not notable.
I found right around here, the entire debate kind of fell apart. Everybody stopped. I think they got worn out.
Yeah.
The last few questions, there was nothing notable.
No, I don't know. There was
okay.
a couple
All right,
of lull-worthy moments coming up.
I don't know. I mean, I think they need to for the next debate narrow it down from 12 people.
Yeah,
it can
12 is a lot.
Expand still. You have until January to sign up. So speaking of which, we have O'Leary, who was at the debate right behind the shoulder of the moderator, looking on.
Okay, I was hoping we could cover it at the end, but let's have a little break from the questions.
Yeah.
Kevin O'Leary is, in my opinion, the clear winner of the CPC debate. He got as much camera time as any of the candidates, simply by where he was sitting in the audience.
Yeah.
And failed to embarrass himself the most out of anyone on stage.
Yeah.
Like, as far as I'm concerned, Kevin O'Leary was the clear winner of this debate. He didn't say anything to embarrass himself.
He's the only one that didn't cuck under in a couple of questions.
Well,
I really hope that his name does go forward, because I think that he has the potential to actually win a conservative leadership bid and actually form a government that could make some.
I don't know much of what his policies are right now, so I won't say that. But I mean, he definitely has the strong personality that I think
he has a leadership personality, and he has a better understanding, I think, of the business world and what impacts real Canadians, because he's someone who actually employs people professionally.
Yeah.
So I think he has a better grasp on the average Canadian than any of the politicians. The one possible exception to that was Dan the doctor, who I think is still out of touch, but was the least out of touch of all, because everyone else running for leadership, I think, is a career politician, right?
Yeah. He's a doctor,
radiologist,
I believe.
Yeah, Dan Lindsay's a radiologist from Manitoba, and I think he was the least out of touch.
The dude with the man bun. The dude with the man bun is the least out of touch. Yes,
I think so. Yeah, I really think that because everybody else,
that man bun that keeps him down to earth, right?
Well, no, but everybody else in the panel is a career politician. They're talking about their decades.
You can't think too highly of yourself with that haircut.
No, no, seriously. That is a man who does not take himself too seriously.
Oh, yeah. For every person they add, they should at least have to subtract 2 people away from the candidacy, because it's like they're already getting 40 seconds, which is like no time at all to answer like an important question. So they either need to stop asking so many questions or cut people so that they got more time. Like, you should get a minute at least to answer a question, especially important questions.
And especially when the questions they did them kind of in groups, like the economy, and they did 2 or 3 questions on the economy, 2 or 3 questions on immigration, and it's like they had 40 seconds for each answer, and so the next question was almost identical but reworded, and so they just re-gave their 40-second answer. Make it one question and give them time to elaborate.
So many people check my website. Answer, because they didn't have time to answer the question properly.
There's still bullshit, though.
That is the one thing I give Litch credit for in this, is she was like, I will listen to what my members of my party want.
Yeah.
Towards the very end of the debate, she was one of the only people that's like, it doesn't matter what I want to do, because as the leader of the party, I will do what the party wants.
Yeah. Yeah, which is technically what all of them should do. I mean,
it is what they. She was the only one that came out and said it in her little soundbitey way.
Yeah.
Where'd we leave off? Gavin, economy, question 7.
All right. Oh, wasn't it 8?
No. Good try, though.
7.
You sure? All right.
We could take a vote.
No, I think it is 8.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Question 7, the answer is pipelines.
Yeah. Lots and lots of pipelines.
All of the pipelines.
Yeah. Canada is going to be laying so much pipe. Then question 8. Or I guess technically question 9, because we didn't put the TPP one in here, but what are your plans to open and improve relations with the new American government?
I didn't like anybody's answers. Litch was like, I'll sit down with Trump and I'll tell him what's what.
Yeah, she may as well have been stroking him on stage.
Yeah, and Oprah was, I'm not going to talk to Trump. I'm just going to talk to all of our other colleagues that we have in various levels of U.S. government.
Yeah.
Which is not a terrible idea, but if you're going to run a country, you have to be able to talk to people that run other countries.
Yeah. Now you need to be careful, though.
Not exclusively.
Yeah.
And in that you don't eulogize terrible leaders when they die, but you do need to have ongoing
Hitler
dialogue.
did nothing wrong.
I mean, he was a phenomenal painter and an environmentalist. But
Really liked animals.
yeah,
Helped raise suicide awareness.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, like you're going to have to work with all levels of government in all different countries around the world, at least at some point. Like, and if you can't do that, you shouldn't be running a country.
Oh, absolutely. Nobody blew me away with their answers. Leitch's was, I think, the most decisive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But not good.
No, it wasn't good. It was just... She
yeah.
seemed like the only one with a plan. It just wasn't a very good plan.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure her plan is to just give Trump a handy behind the podium and call it even. Like,
which, hey, I've heard of worse strategies.
Yeah.
All right. For a few reasons, we've had a terrible grain transportation crisis a couple of years ago that cost Western farmers billions in losses. Liberals recently announced changes to address our grain handling and transportation system for 2017. What would you do to ensure greater market access to our agricultural producers here on the prairies?
The answer to this again was pipelines.
Pipelines. Yeah.
The answer is pipelines. And this is where it started to get interesting with a couple of candidates, particularly with Maxime Bernier and Blaney arguing about, like, they started to get into some like personal arguments about the free market and supply management.
Yeah.
So, and this is where I kind of alluded earlier, how I think his libertarian ideals are going to be his undoing, and it's this issue right here. And while I tend to agree with his libertarian ideals, there's a point where the ideals don't necessarily make good political policy for today. And it can be a good goal for the future, but in terms of the short term, in terms of what Canada will tolerate and what Canada can adapt and handle, I think the supply management is a big issue. I know when I've talked to some of the farmers that I know, they're all absolutely against against Bernier because of this issue. And I think that right there, losing sort of the rural Canadian vote for the Conservatives, because it's not just farmers that will vote against this. It's anybody that knows a farmer, people that have farming backgrounds or have farming in their families that are going to not vote for Bernier because of this issue.
Yeah. I mean, I think he maybe went a little far. Like, he's looking sort of too libertarian globally as opposed to within Canada. We need to get rid of stupid regulations that stop us from trading from province to province. But
and it's one of those things where, like, we have an example, like Germany got rid of their quota system on their dairy, and it's been a disaster for them. Farms have gone under. The price of dairy has just fallen. It's been a disaster for them. So it's it's an easy thing for opposition to pick apart and go, to happen here.
Yeah. I mean, I do generally, like less regulation, especially government regulation on stuff.
Agreed.
And so there's maybe like a good medium between the two where...
So the issue right now is that basically, if we're talking about dairy, if we're talking about the quota system, is these dairy farmers, their entire net worth basically is in their quota.
Right.
So if you eliminate the quota system, they'd lose all of their money, all of their any debt that they have is leveraged out to buy quota. Like, that is where all of their money is invested, and you're basically tanking that on them.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be, personally, I think that's going to be a big undoing for Bernier.
Yeah, it's going to hurt him in rural ridings, and it's not going to help him in urban ridings. Yeah. But I do think that supply chain management, the way our government runs it with things like the dairy and wheat boards, is not in the best interest of farmers, although it is in the short-term financial interest of the country.
Yeah. Yeah. And I agree with you. I think in a lot of ways it's likely handicapping farmers in terms of what dollar values they could get for their product.
It is, but it's also money that they're depending on because they know it's a set value that they can depend on. Yeah. So they are depending on it because it's a dependable number.
It's the devil you know.
Oh, it is at 100%. I don't think it's a good thing, but I don't think that we can't just turn it off.
No, it's sort of a necessary evil for now until, I guess, the world stabilizes a little bit more. I mean,
it needs.
And like I said, it's. I agree with the sentiment behind it, but I just think it's too out there for Canada right now.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
But pipelines.
Pipelines was a big answer.
And for anyone that's not aware, pipeline is the answer because the reason all the wheat sat there and they couldn't get transportation for the grains was because all of the cars were filled with oil. So they literally couldn't get room on the freight trains to move the grain.
Yeah, that we were sending all to the U.S.
Yeah.
And
the oil, not the grain.
Yeah, and then buying oil from other places.
Yeah,
on the other house.
Yeah. 20 times higher, but who's counting?
Not the Liberals.
All right, who's up? Is it Andrew?
I thought I just read that one.
Okay, so we're on 10?
10. Yeah.
All right. What, in your opinion, must the Conservative Party do in order to broaden its appeal to Canadians all over the country, in order to increase the chances of winning the next Canadian election?
Yeah, again, nobody
gave had an answer for this one.
A good answer. There was one that answers. Andrew Scheer didn't do too bad on this. He's like, we have to appeal to a broader voter base.
Yeah.
But was he the guy that said there's all kinds of conservatives and I'm all of them?
Yeah, so he said that we need to appeal to a broader base by being more conservative, was what he kind of said.
Because there's one of the guys that said, like, there's social conservatives, there's fiscal conservatives, there's whatever conservatives, and we haven't really done a good job of being inclusive to all of them. But I am all of those things. I don't know if
that was either Andrew Saxton or Andrew Scheer.
Like, because that pissed me off that he was all of those things. It's like, no, nobody is all of those things. Like, you do need to appeal to all of those people, but you can't be one person and be all of those things. Like, I'm sorry, that's a bullshit answer.
The other thing that came up, I think, pretty much without exception, I think Deepak might have been the only guy that didn't bring this up, was that they have to appeal to both rural and urban voter bases.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which they're not wrong in, because the Conservatives win everywhere where the population is under 500,000.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's...
Yeah, a couple of them touched on that they need to get the new immigrant vote and non-white Canadian vote.
Yeah, none of them had a good example of how they're planning on doing that, though.
No, that was what they need to. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was two people that brought that up. Deepak definitely brought up the new immigrants one, and I want to say it was one of the Andrews again that said it was new Canadians. Oh, and Blaney was talking about the millennium. We have to have the millennium.
Yeah.
I mean, I pick on him because of his French, but I pick on all people because of their French.
Yeah, there was a few of them that talked funny enough to win the Quebec vote.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that was Bernier made a really good point about that. Was there's 70 some odd francophone ridings, and we need somebody who can speak to that segment of the population, and he's not wrong.
No, yeah, he's entirely right.
But we need somebody that can speak to all of the segments of the population, not just like
but he didn't say that can speak to those. He said who can also speak to those. So he is. Yeah. He's saying like we need, like, in terms of winning this election, he's right.
Yeah, Bernier I thought did a pretty good job. Or not Bernier. Bernier. He did a good job on that answer.
That was Blaney that said that.
Was Blaney that said that? No, screw Blaney. I don't like Blaney.
That was Blaney that said that.
Oh, I thought that was Bernier that said that. That he was all like,
no,
Quebec vote. Well, in that case, I take back everything I said. No, that was a good point. If it was Blaney that made that point, it was a good point because it is important for us to have somebody, because Quebec has so many ridings in it. We need somebody who can speak to them and speak to them in a way that will energize them to vote Conservative.
Yeah, Quebec and Ontario are the New York and California.
Well, they are, but there's no electoral college, so
yeah.
Quebec and Ontario are the ones that actually matter in this case.
We can't decide it on our own, but we can 90% of it. We can.
Yeah, like almost. Yeah. Just about there.
All right. We on to the next one here?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Most people prefer a knowledgeable, hands-on leader, not just a figurehead. I wonder who they're talking about. Can you describe the type of leader you would be and what area of expertise you would bring as a leader of the Conservative Party in 2017?
So Scheer brought his jokes on this one, which I thought were pretty good, about the whole, I'm going to take my shirt off less than Justin, and I've got a dad bod, not a yoga bod.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. Was it Blaney to the side of him?
Blaney just lost his shit on this one. Blaney couldn't stop smiling, just howling with laughter.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought Scheer did a good. He didn't have a great answer, but his delivery was good.
Yeah.
Which was kind of the opposite of him throughout the rest of the debate.
Yeah, no, Scheer picked up towards the end. As we got through the economics, Scheer's answers got better.
In general, his answers were good throughout the debate. I mean, he was one of the ones that I said, if I went through every question and was kind of points, no points, he was pretty solid across all of his answers. Obviously, there's some that I disagree with, but he was generally solid. But he's not a good speaker, at least not in this debate.
No,
his words. He looked really nervous. He definitely did not. He did not appear sort of confidence inspiring to see him. But if you took that out and just took to what he said, his answers were pretty decent.
No, absolutely. I didn't like Leitch's answer for this question, because she was all like, "I'm going to work with people, but I'm not going to tell you how I'm going to do it. But I'm going to do it. Vote for me." I found her answer very wanting, as a lot of her answers were. They were very meandering without saying anything.
Yeah, and she snapped her fingers a bunch of times instead of clapping.
Yeah,
who does that?
That was weird. Aaron O'Toole did a pretty good job on this one. I thought this was actually one of O'Toole's best answers for all of the questions. Not that his other answers were bad, but this one was.
He was generally solid as well.
He was solid without really doing anything, though. He's like, yeah, this is the way that we do this.
Yeah, he was solid. He was just middle of the road, and he spoke well.
Yeah, I mean, there was a bunch of solidly mediocre.
Yeah, I think this was
not bad.
Best.
Yeah, he didn't flame out though. There was a couple of guys in here that we can pick apart. That was like, wow, that guy is done.
Well,
yeah. What else we got? I lost my show notes.
We're basically that's it for the debate. Do we want to do the bonus question and then we'll kind of talk about summaries, or?
Yeah.
All right, bonus question, which wasn't part of this debate, but it was from some sort of a question and answer that was not televised, but there was this one question was put up on YouTube. This was asked by Tracy of CCFR, and the audio is, at least especially for her asking the question, is pretty terrible. So I don't know how much I butchered the question, but basically the question was how do they plan to combat crime in Canada without placing any unnecessary burdens on Canadian firearms owners?
Okay, so I want to start. I was
gonna say then the cucking ensued.
Yeah, I want to say that Bernier cucked hard.
I was so disappointed in his answer.
He could have had such a solid answer, but he had 2 sentences that just butchered it for me.
Yeah,
and that was the whole.
Set him up. This was a question to him.
Oh, yeah. This should have been a slam dunk for Bernier, because he starts off and he's like, I believe in property rights. I'm like, he's got this. He's totally got this. And he's like, if the government reclassifies a firearm as prohibited, they should compensate the owner. I'm like, really? You literally just shot yourself in the foot. Like,
Yeah.
cuck more. Some other dude is doing your wife right now.
Yeah, I was in. Not a lot of them had anything better to say. Andrew Cheer, I think his was pretty good. He's obviously a shooter.
Yeah, Sheer brought the jokes again. I've got a 270 and a Remington 12 gauge, and I know how to use them. And the applause sign goes on.
Yeah, he did comment on some of the things that annoy firearms owners, and that he's like, we need to have legislation that reflects the functionality of the firearms, not the appearance of the firearms. And made a couple comments like that. Like he definitely knew firearms, and he was the only one there that actually seemed to know anything about our firearms laws.
Sheer by far had the best answer for this one. By far had the best answer. Bernier, cucked hard.
I said
there was a lot of discussion.
Bernier was most disappointing in how hard he cucked, because it's like this was a question that he should have just, like you said,
as a very strong libertarian candidate in the Conservative Party, he should have nailed this one as a property rights issue. Like, he should have just demolished this.
Yeah, but I mean, and don't take my comment as supporting his view, but he's probably looking at it in terms of, I need to sort of pander a little bit to the anti-gun crowd.
They're not going to vote conservative anyway.
Well, I mean, I'm sure there are some conservative people that don't like guns. There has to be.
Someone that doesn't like guns still understands property rights.
And that's where I'm going to give them money as opposed to just going, yeah.
No. So you got to remember, this question didn't come out saying, like, what are you going to do about gun control? This was saying, what are you going to do without placing burdens on Canadian firearms owners? And so you can come out and say, like, he can come out and if he wants to go down the property rights thing, like firearms are properties, right? And we can't confiscate people's private property and end it there. People understand that.
Yeah.
I have private property. I don't want it being confiscated. Even gun control advocates, they understand the concept of getting things taken from them.
Like their public funding, which is what we should be doing. But anyway. Trost didn't have a great answer on this, but Trost's position on firearms in general seems pretty good. He is also a firearms owner. I suspect that he's a bit of a hunter. Just based on the fact that he claims to own a 270 Savage.
Hey, I want to own this 270 Savage.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I mean, he's on board with correctly classifying firearms like the AR-15 based on their function rather than physical appearances. Mm-hmm. He seems to be on board with changing to an FAC style system, or changing back to an FAC style system. There's some stuff that I don't understand about his stance on firearms. Like the prohibited persons list. I don't get that. Because he talked about this in his answer to Tracy's question as well. Like, he talked about criminals not following laws and that we need to have a better criminal justice system. But it's like that doesn't really answer Tracy's question. I don't understand why I don't get your tangent.
Yeah, I was just generally annoyed by the amount of discomfort they all had, even going near the subject.
Well, I think it's because they know it's a touchy subject.
No, but to me, that's a demonstration of what we can expect them to do once they gain the leadership.
Yeah, then I mean,
absolutely.
If Leitch's stance is that she's going to do what her party members want her to do, given that they've just determined that firearms ownership is a heritage right, you think she would have at least championed that, because that is what the party wants to do, right?
It's important to note that Leitch wasn't actually on the panel for this bonus question.
Yeah,
correct. Yeah, this is and for anyone that hadn't heard, her house had gotten broken into, so she had to leave right before this.
Well, hopefully that experience makes her far more pro-gun.
Chris Alexander also has some interesting thoughts on firearms because he totally wants to repeal Bill C-68, which I think is a good idea, and he also wants to take regulation out of the RCMP's hands.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't seem to be entirely opposed to firearms or using firearms for self-defense as being an illegitimate reason to have firearms. He doesn't seem to be super on board with it. He just doesn't seem to be totally, put off by the idea of maybe you should have a gun to be able to defend yourself.
Yeah.
Toronto, though. So, I'm not sure what his...
Again, that's great. That he's said that somewhere. It would have been great for him to answer that question in the debate.
It would have been.
So, hopefully that a similar type of question comes up again, that we can see how they respond. Now they've had a chance to field this question once, and maybe they can kind of solidify their views on this and come up with an answer next time.
Yeah. I would like to see more of this. I hope that there will be more of these. Well, there's going to be there's 5 more of these debates?
Yes. The next one is French, I believe.
Yeah, I'm not watching that one. Actually, I'm probably not watching any of these until we get down to the last one again, and then we can recap on who the finalists are.
Yeah, I'll probably watch all the English ones, but then we'll probably leave it here now until the field gets narrowed down some.
Yeah, when we get down to the last debate or two, we can revisit this. General thoughts otherwise on the candidates and how they conducted themselves.
Good. So, I made my comments about Scheer O'Toole before, just kind of that's the same. I thought Blaney did really well. He came out angry, which I liked.
Yeah, it was fun to see him get riled up.
He was angry throughout the entire debate, which I was happy with because, you know what, I'm an angry Canadian with how things are going right now. So I'm happy to see an angry conservative right now. Chong, this is what I said earlier. He seems like a decently smart guy at first, but his answers to the questions were just atrocious as it went on. And him being all, pro carbon tax and carbon tax being the basis for his economic plan is just, I think, a disaster for a conservative candidate. And then Bernier, I thought similar to, I thought Bernier and Blaney were the two strongest, in my opinion. But Bernier's supply management position, I think, is a rough one. That was kind of my take on the crowd.
I like it. All right, so my take on things. Chris Alexander was across the board weak on his positions, and he was weak on articulating what his points were. I don't think he had any terrible ideas, but he didn't have anything that stood out as being an amazing position on anything. He was very middle-of-the-road conservative. Very boring, very bland. He was...
I'm looking through all my notes, and I have almost nothing that I marked down about him.
Yeah, no, he was a very boring speaker. His points were very boring.
I have Alexander - pipelines. So
he was on board with everybody. Was on board with pipelines. Maxime Bernier.
Right,
Maxime Bernier is definitely among my favorite people in the leadership race. I think he's got a very strong presence with Quebec. I think he's got I agree with a lot of his personal politics because he seems to be very strong in the libertarian mindset. Mm-hmm. I think the supply chain management, while it's funny to see him argue with Blaney, will be his undoing.
Yeah.
I don't think that the Conservative Party is ready to dismantle supply chain management. I'd really like them to, but I understand that it's not feasible to do it as you can't push the button and have it happen overnight.
Yeah, exactly.
I really hope that we see more of him throughout the rest of the race. Blaney cucked really hard on a bunch of things. I think his position on we should have somebody with the whole French language thing is good. And I think his experience as public safety minister is valuable. I don't particularly care for much of the things that he had to say. He bores me. He annoys me. It was funny to see him get angry, and I really liked watching him argue with Maxime.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Actually, here's another one thing with Maxime is he's got to lose the shit-eating grin when that's happening, though.
You could see
he
was just winding him up, though. He was just
oh yeah,
he's like, "Oh, this bugs Blaney. I'm going to talk about it again."
Yeah,
and you could just just another turn of the knife.
Funny, but it made him look like a dick. Like,
I kind of liked it.
Right, I did too, but I think in general he needs to not do that.
Yeah,
I think he would be an excellent candidate for the shitlords. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I really wanted to like Michael Chong. He seems very reasonable and very approachable, but he is not a good public speaker, and he has no grasp of economics, or at least the way that he presents himself, he seems like he doesn't understand economics. Because how do you back carbon taxes?
He has the only economic plan that's been approved by 4 Canadian universities.
Yeah, I really want to like him, but his answers were pretty atrocious.
I know. I said the same thing. When it started off, it was like, oh, this guy's going to be strong. Like he had a presence about himself. He had good answers at the beginning, and then as it basically answered question 2, it was like, oh, this is the wheels are coming off.
So that's what we're doing, yeah.
Yeah.
He does have a presence, and he is a good public speaker. Like in that respect, just his grasp of economics, it's no good. I would not sell that man a canoe.
No.
But that is a heritage right for him. At least partly.
Kelly Leitch disappoints me greatly. I was really hoping with how much she's annoyed the media in the last couple of weeks that
we'll have to talk about it briefly after this.
Yeah, I was really hoping that she would have a better public presence.
Yeah.
She's not eloquent at all.
No.
Her answers are very meandering and meaningless, and she says a lot. She filled her 40 seconds for every question. In some cases, she went over her 40 seconds. But she never actually said anything of substance in the vast majority of her answers. I think maybe 2 of her questions, her meeting with Donald Trump and maybe one of the immigration questions, she had decent answers for.
Yeah.
Dan Lindsay worries me. He actually seems like he might be the most personable of all of them.
It doesn't bother me because of the stupid haircut. He's going nowhere with that thing.
Yeah, he was well spoken. He has good life experience. He's not a career politician. He seems to have a pretty good understanding of the economics. He seems to have a pretty good understanding of immigration.
I'm joking with the stupid haircut, but he just comes off unprofessional right now.
Yeah, he does seem a little bit hippy dippy.
Yeah.
That might appeal to a certain percentage of the population, though.
And that's what I'm saying. He seems personable. A lot of people. I mean, he's no Prime Minister selfie, but
yeah,
I think that this is somebody that, that guy's kind of like my doctor. I can relate to him a little bit. I mean, I don't live in $1 million house and drive a Ferrari because I'm not a doctor, but I have a doctor, and this guy's kind of quirky like mine.
Yeah.
I think he's relatable to a lot of Canadians. I really wish he would have spoken a little bit more about his public service stuff, because O'Toole was definitely dragging out his veteran status card. And Lindsay is not a veteran, but he did do 5 tours at Kandahar, Afghanistan, at the Canadian Forces Field Hospital.
Yeah.
As a civilian medical specialist. He was a surgeon there. I really wish he would have brought that up at some point, especially when O'Toole played his veteran card on more than one occasion.
Yeah, although, I mean, the thing I love about people that do great things like that and then don't use it as a, hey, look at me, means that they did it for the right reasons. You know?
That's true. That's true. That's a good way to look at that.
You don't do 5 tours because you want to run for Prime Minister one day.
No.
So I don't know. I think it'd be okay for him to
make
mention of it.
I think he should mention it, but if you start using it too often,
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. Like that can't be what he runs on.
No, I'm not saying it should be what he runs on at all. But when O'Toole's throwing out the veteran card, I think that Lindsay should have been like, "Yeah, I've been to Canada.
I was there too. Yeah, I've been there and done that."
And I mean, he mentioned it in passing in one of his answers because he's like, "Oh yeah, somebody asked me about my time in Afghanistan," and then he totally glossed over like what he did or why he was there.
Yeah,
like which is normally there's normally a follow-up question when somebody in Canada was like, "Yeah, when I was in Afghanistan the other day," like
yeah. Deepak Obra, I don't know. Seems like a career bureaucrat, career politician. He talks a lot about his selling Canada to other countries stuff that he's been doing because he has
generally good comedic timing.
I did like the answer when he got worked up and he was like, Canadians are Canadians, Mr. Speaker. Time's up. And everybody like cue applause and laughter from the audience because he thought he was in the house. And I mean, that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he's also, I don't particularly care for him, but I think he's another relatable candidate.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I thought his answers were generally as good as most.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
Aaron O'Toole disappointed me greatly.
Really?
Aaron O'Toole is your standard conservative, and I'm disappointed by that because I was expecting more from him.
That's what I was expecting with him. So I'm like, he was average conservative. I thought he was middle of the road and didn't fuck up.
He didn't fuck up, but he didn't have the. So I've seen other press stuff with him where he has a presence, as he should, as a former officer in the Air Force.
Okay.
He should have a public speaking presence. And at this debate, he did not. I was very disappointed with his showing.
I was going into it just like, I didn't know most of the guys in the debate. So I was just kind of basing it off this opinion. I'm like, he was, basically he held his own and didn't fuck up.
Yeah, I was hoping he would be a little bit more Kevin O'Leary and a little bit less just sidelines kind of guy. Yeah.
There's definitely you don't come away from this debate thinking we found the Canadian Trump. That's for sure.
No. I was really hoping for more from O'Toole because he does have a good record in Parliament. He's been Minister of Veterans Affairs. He's been the opposition public safety emergency preparedness guy. He's a veteran. I was really hoping he would have a better stage presence. I was really hoping he would have a better answer to his questions.
Yeah, he's got some good credentials behind his name there, like with all of that.
Yeah, but he wasn't bad. But
he didn't stand out.
He didn't stand out, and I don't think he's going to be very relatable to the average Canadian. Yeah. He's just one more old white guy.
Yeah.
And he's not that old. He's 43. But he looks old. Like, the dude looks like he should be pushing 60. He looks old, and he sounds old.
O'Toole?
Yeah, O'Toole.
I didn't think he looked that old, but all right.
Does he look like he's 40?
I would have thought so.
I don't know. I thought he looked...
He doesn't look as youthful as Shiny Pony.
No, he does, and I think that's going to be a marketing problem. Is that Shiny Pony versus this guy? This guy does not win.
So I agree with you that he doesn't look as young as Shiny Pony. He doesn't have nearly as lustrous of a mane.
Not nearly. Lisa Rett annoyed and irritated me to no end.
Yeah, we haven't really touched on her much, but she was generally. It would have been a better debate without her up there.
Yeah, I didn't. None of her answers were good. None of them were atrocious or anything. Like, nothing made me want to push her out of a helicopter. But
I was gonna say, I think she more than anyone else, never answered questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. She had a lot of stories and anecdotes and stuff, but
I think
she never really got to.
She may have been the one that referenced her website the most, I think.
Between her and Kelly Leitch, I think Kelly Leitch was bad one for that.
No, Chang totally said Chang.ca the most.
Oh, Chong?
Yeah, Chong.
Chong, yeah.
Sorry, Chong. Yeah.
It could be.
Andrew Saxton doesn't do anything special for me. He was okay. He's a middle of the road conservative.
Yeah, he doesn't have a very good presence about himself either.
No, he's very meek, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't speak well. His answers were nothing groundbreaking.
Sadly, though, that's probably like the middle of the road conservative is who they're going to need to win, though, because they will be able to steal some of the floater votes that are on the fence.
I think
like
that's fair.
If you get somebody that's too hardline, like, if Leitch happens to get it, I mean, she's obviously going to get the alt-right vote in Canada. All 10
both of them.
Yeah. But like the middle of the road people, like, which I would say is most people, they're not going to vote for somebody that's hardline like that, right? Like they're gonna want someone that more or less feels the same way they do, with some small differences.
I'm even going to say that she's not even going to get the alt-right vote.
She's not crazy enough.
What did she say at all that aligns with an alt-right?
Well, that depends. What did she actually say, or what is the media painting her as?
Yeah, that's
important.
Yeah.
I mean,
where were we? The other Andrew Scheer. I think Andrew Scheer really, if he could public speak, has the capacity to lead the party.
Yeah.
He had some good answers, or at least he has the foundational knowledge that he could make good answers.
Yeah, but he did a good job of like highlighting the things that Harper did well and going, that worked well. I'm just going to do that.
Absolutely. And I think that's a strong position to speak from. I just don't think he was a very good public speaker. He seemed very nervous.
Yeah.
Like very anxious while he was on stage.
Yeah. As I said, his answers were, I think, overall, adding them all up, I think he was probably one of the most solid answers in terms of, doing all right on all of the questions. But yeah, he looked really awkward up on stage. He was stumbling with his words. He was really not a great speaker.
No, he wasn't. But I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing. He was the one that also said he wanted to build a team, right? He does look young, but he is young. He's 37.
Yeah. But I don't know if that's... I don't know. I was going to say, like, do you think that's an issue? Obviously, Shiny Pony got in because he was young. Is that an issue on the conservative side of things?
I think a bigger problem for him is actually going to be the public pro-life stance that he has. Didn't come up in the debate, but he's big into the pro-life stuff.
Yeah, that'll be an issue for sure.
So he's not middle of the road enough, but I think if he had a better stage presence, I think that his answers foundationally were very solid.
Abortions for some, tiny American flags for others?
Yes. Yes. Good Simpsons reference. Well done. Trost annoyed me. Like, Trost is just high on his own shit.
Yeah, he had a couple good answers, but agreed.
Yeah, no, he did have a couple of good answers, and he should, because, as he kept pointing out, he's a geophysicist.
Yeah.
So some of his answers, like his climate change stuff, should be good answers, and they were.
Yeah.
But also, he's been in a lab by himself for too long, and he's high on his own shit. So there's stuff. Yeah, he's also a pro-lifer, which I think, again, is going to play poorly with the media.
Yes.
I think I didn't miss anybody. So those are sort of my overall thoughts on all of the candidates and how they performed. I really hope that going forward we see more from O'Toole, Chong, Blaney, and Bernier. Those are the four that I would like to see sort of continue.
I want to see more from Scheer as well. I want to see what he can do, if he can actually...
If he can develop a stage presence, he's probably not going to do terribly. I don't think that he has.
Right now, I don't think, based on this debate, he's got no chance whatsoever.
No, he doesn't. He has.
But I think
no
there was enough
public
substance
ability.
there that if he could actually build a persona, basically, if he could get a personality between now and a debate or two from now.
Yeah,
because
that's
no one's paying attention right now. Like
No,
this debate, we watched it. Nobody else did. Like, so this was a dry run. This was a throwaway. Anything that happened in this debate does not matter. So if you
I
can
would say
figure
that
it out,
more Canadians watch the U.S. debates than watch this debate.
absolutely.
This is the equivalent of like the DNC primary. I guess.
And I would still say that more Canadians watch those than they did.
Oh, absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely. This is very preliminary. We'll see how it goes.
So like this did, their performance here did not matter. So if he can, if he can basically turn things around, I think he has a chance because he did seem like a knowledgeable candidate, more so than a lot of the others.
Yeah, his answers were solid. He just lacks personality and flavor.
And again, when we say solid, we mean middle of the road conservative.
I wouldn't even say this guy is a middle of the road conservative, just because he's like outspoken on the pro-life stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, the rest of his policies were.
And generally, he seemed like he did have the best answer in the firearms question, in the debate question.
Yes, the firearms question. I think he is the winner for the firearms question, the bonus round, if you will.
Round, yeah. All right, Gavin.
All right, let's.
Gavin, you have anything to add on your take on the candidates?
I mean, I would say, we're all fairly in agreement on those. I mean, I would say in my mind, my favorite so far, despite his answer for the firearms thing, is Bernier. I mean, I do think he's probably a little bit too libertarian, but I mean, in terms of people that I would pick, but that's maybe not necessarily what is best for the party or best for the country.
Yeah,
but
so I would say okay. So my thoughts on Bernie is that he's not the best one to get elected for Canada. And generally, I agreed with him the most. I do agree with him the most on his sort of policies and that. He was also the one that I was the most disappointed in this debate.
Yeah.
In the firearms question, and I think it's because I had high hopes for him going into it. Like, this guy seems like he's gonna do really well. And so when he came out with very middling answers, I was probably the most disappointed in his answers because I kind of expected him to do so good.
Although a charity boxing match between him and Blaney would be amazing.
That would be pretty good.
I mean, they could raise a whole lot of money to lay a whole lot of pipe with that.
Yeah, my money's on Bernier. He's got a couple of pounds on Blaney. I mean, Blaney's got reach, but I think Bernier would still come out ahead.
Yeah. Although if he's wearing that giant poppy, that might be a distraction.
It squirts. It's like the...
All right, let's do rapid fire feedback. There's a bunch of people watching.
Hang on. Do we want to quickly talk about the Canada's Donald Trump?
Sure.
Seeing as you have 3 articles in here about it, I assume that's you wanted to mention.
No, those were just my reference notes. We don't have to put those in.
Okay. Well, I'll just quickly talk about this because Kelly Leitch is being somehow demonized as being Canada's Donald Trump, and that she's alt-right and all this because she keeps saying she wants to defend and maintain Canadian values. Yet in all these interviews, whenever they keep asking her to define Canadian values, she never seems to actually be able to answer it. So at the beginning of the debate, she did start off with saying, I believe that Canada was founded on these values, and these Canadian values are what I want to protect. So I'm going to assume that this subset is what she believes are the Canadian values, and that is hard work, generosity, freedom, and tolerance. Guys, I think she's literally Hitler.
That is the least alt-right position for someone to take.
Right.
Who, according to Trudeau, was a great man and was a good leader who served his country well and will be sadly, sadly missed. No, I feel if that's what she means by, like, I agree. Like, I think the problem is like, it's the language that she uses and the language that the left uses.
Triggered by.
Yeah. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with national pride. I think people should be proud of the country that they live in and come from. That is a good thing.
Hard work, generosity, freedom, and tolerance. That's what we're upset that she's preaching.
I mean, I think part of the problem is the way that she's packaged that as, like, Canadian values, and then the stereotypes that get assumed along with that by the left is the problem.
Yeah.
So knowing that that's going to happen, I think she needs to repackage that idea and better present it, like, because she knows that's going to happen.
But it's weird because she's, like, owning it.
Yeah, and I think that doesn't help the situation. And then, like, her also, like, every question was Trump, 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 Trump. Like,
right, exactly.
So I think she's, like, playing that up a little bit, and, like, the red power suit or whatever, which is, like, to go with his red power ties, I think. You know, like, I think she's playing it up too much rather than, like, maybe downplaying it a little bit and actually presenting what she means by it. Like, I don't think she's a good candidate based on a lot of her answers. But I don't...
Or lack thereof.
Yeah, but I don't think that she is the racist that everyone is necessarily painting her to be based on what she has said so far. I mean, she could be, but based on, hard work and generosity and tolerance, that is not an indication that she is the things that she is being painted as. I mean, I wouldn't want her to be like Trump's right-hand woman. Like, I want our leader to be able to speak out against something, or any leader, if they do something stupid that affects us negatively. You know, I don't think they should just wholeheartedly go, oh yeah, well, you know, I support them if they're doing something stupid. But I also don't want someone to go, oh, well, I'm not going to work with that person. You need to be able to work with people and criticize them objectively. But yeah, I don't think she's as evil as it's being painted in the media.
All right, let's do rapid fire feedback. There's nothing in the iTunes feedback today, but I do have YouTube commentary. I'm not sure if we're being trolled or not, so I'm going to start treating this as serious, and we'll see how it goes. So, Khabib Nurmagomedov, I'm not sure. Something. The interdependence of dual-sidedness is simple-minded in its polymorphism. Would you agree or disagree?
Yeah, this is a troll.
Yeah,
I believe we're being trolled, but I'm...
Yeah, what?
That's not how polymorphism works. At least that's not how I understand polymorphism to work.
Yeah. And I mean, like...
not that I don't... like, interdependence of dual-sidedness is simple-minded, because most things are not dual-sided, like interdependence, but... I'm not really sure where we're going with this question. Thanks for coming out for the YouTube comments.
Yeah, I guess use one of the links for the feedback and maybe explain your question better, and then maybe we can actually answer it.
We also have...
I know this was intended to sound really smart, but it makes no sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of those words don't get arranged like that to make a good sentence.
No, you're just throwing big buzzwords on one sentence to sound important. But
so thanks, Kebab. We appreciate your feedback. Also, some feller 73 wants to know if he called it a savage, and I think that's talking about Scheer. And I think he's talking about a Savage chambered in 270, not that he's making up a caliber called 270 Savage. Although if there is such a thing, I'd be happy to shoot one.
Yeah, I would buy it just because. That'd be an amazing name. Especially if it's a Savage 270 Savage. Like, that just
rolls right off the tongue.
Yeah.
All right. Do you guys have anything else for the leadership race?
No, other than I am definitely not looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, I don't think we're covering this again until we get down to somebody getting the last.
Yeah, it was worth. I still think it was worth doing though, because there is.
Oh, for sure.
So many of them, and nobody has any clue who any of these candidates are. So it's good to just do a quick rundown of kind of at least their basic stances: economy, immigration. Kind of pick out the highlights.
Agreed. I think it was a fun conversation. I don't think it was our most exciting conversation ever. Let's outro, I guess. Nobody put their links in the outro. Thanks, guys. Gavin, where can people stay in touch with you?
Best place to find me is on Instagram at urbex_GTA.
All right. And Marty, if somebody wants to get in touch with the Canadian Patriot Podcast, Director of Social Media, where can they reach you?
CanadianPatriotPodcast.com.
Fantastic.
Or via smoke signal.
Only if it's a sunny day.
Well, yeah. I mean,
I wonder if they're going to have smoke signals contribute to carbon tax.
It does in Montreal, apparently. You can't have wood stove.
No wood stoves in Montreal. That's true.
just burn garbage instead.
Boys, my name is Andrew. You can find all my work on everydaytactical.com or on Instagram and Twitter at edtactical. Stay in touch with the podcast. You can do that at CanadianPatriotPodcast.com or on Facebook, Facebook.com/Canadian Patriot Podcast. We also have the Instagram now at Canadian Patriot Podcast. If you want to send feedback to the show, or if you're kebab and want to actually explain your question.
I think it's Khabib, but okay.
I stand
Khabib.
by what I said.
Khabib maybe.
If you want to explain the interdependence of dual-sidedness and how it's simple-minded in its polymorphism, you can contact the show at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com and maybe explain to me how you mangled those words into a sentence. I'd like to apologize again this week for having to bump Rod Giltaca. We look forward to having him on a future episode, and I'd like to remind all of our listeners that you are the true north, strong and free.